Well, healthcare stocks are starting to show some signs of recovery after a rough ride earlier in the year. But can that momentum continue? Joining us now to discuss his outlook for the sector is Jasper Helweg, security analyst with Argus Research. And Jasper, welcome to Money Talk Live. It's your first time on the program. Why don't you give us a brief overview of what you cover?
Thanks, Anthony. So I work at Argus Research. I've been at the firm for nearly 10 years. I cover the pharma and biotech section of the healthcare industry. Formerly, I was more across the healthcare industry, but more recently have shifted my focus to much more in the pharma and biotech space. I also do insider trading analysis, looking at what CEOs and CFOs or beneficial owners, what sort of trading they're doing within the companies that they work with, and what sorts of trends we can gather from that data, both on a company-specific basis and looking across industries and indices for that data.
All right, well, let's start it off with healthcare because there's a lot going on in this sector right now. What's the general state of the healthcare sector?
Sure, great question. So far this year, within the US at least, there have been 27 novel drug approvals by the FDA. This is only slightly behind 2024, so still a pretty robust pace of approvals. Obviously, there's a lot of the year left to go, and we'll see where that goes. But there are a number of clinical updates that have come out across cancers, Alzheimer's, weight loss, a number of different indications. There's also been a lot more use of AI in drug research, which may accelerate the research of these drugs, the development of what they're able to do, as well as targeting much more specific groups of people that maybe it's hard to get the funding for different indications. So overall, generally a great positive trend for the industry. One trend, however, to keep an eye on is the number of patent cliffs that are upcoming across the next few years. This is sort of a big wall in the industry and important to keep on an eye on, both for a company-specific basis and as the industry as a whole.
Yeah, certainly some key trends to keep an eye on going forward. I want to go through some of the specific themes that you're seeing. Where there's a lot of excitement, of course, around anti-obesity drugs. How's that trend playing out right now?
Yeah, great. So there's a number of new indications that companies are looking at. Obviously, the drugs GLP-1 started with diabetes, then they got into obesity and weight management. There are a number of other indications that people are looking at for heart failure, even into combining with other drugs for things such as Alzheimer's. And so that is certainly a big trend. We'll see where that goes, what approvals are given. There's also the big research of oral medications versus injectables. So things like Ozempic and Wegovy, these have to be injected daily. And so people are looking into oral alternatives, which offers obviously a much more attractive method of delivery for many people. And there's also the trend of compounded GLP-1s. This offers an opportunity for some of the smaller companies, but for the bigger companies, it does offer a bit of a threat. Now, Congress has tried to clamp down on this in the US, as well as in other countries, their governments, but certainly it has taken hold. And just for reference, compounded GLP-1s, they are basically customized versions of the FDA-approved drugs, basically typically made by pharmacies to meet the specific needs of individual patients.
All right, now we're also seeing a lot of changes made by the administration in Washington. How is that impacting your space?
Certainly. So this is definitely a time of change. And so, funding for, let's say, mRNA drugs research NIH grants. This has definitely dramatically shifted. But obviously, companies are going to still invest in their R&D. It just may be a little bit harder for some of the less established names or less established disease areas to get funding. Then there's also the discussion of the most favored nation status. This would essentially make it so that if a company, let's say in Europe, offers a cancer drug for less expensive than in the US, the US would have to offer it for the same price. Now, some companies, rather than just following suit and lowering the prices in the US to match their European prices, they are actually raising prices elsewhere in the world. So it'll be interesting to see how this helps offset the other declines that will be expected with lowering certain other prices.
Yeah, interesting dynamics there for some of these big pharma companies. Are there any new treatment or drug types that investors should be keeping an eye on?
Sure. So naturally, the cancer space, oncology has been a really hot area for a while, but we keep seeing a lot of new research coming out for different drugs there. There's some of the companies that I cover that perhaps we will discuss later today that are delivering truly remarkable results for people with terrible cancers. Also in the Alzheimer's space, there's been a lot of new research. There are now some approved drugs in the space for, Alzheimer's is truly devastating for many people. So whatever people are able to do, they like their options. So I see that space growing a lot. And then obviously in the weight loss sector or space, we spoke a bit about that, but there's a lot of opportunities still. So, demand is really high. They're looking at all these new indications for these GLP-1 drugs. And so I see that space continuing to grow. Another one to definitely keep an eye on is the once yearly HIV pre-exposure prophylactics, or PrEP. So Gilead is working on a once yearly treatment, which, if that helps, if that comes out, that would certainly, I'm sure, be very well received in the market. Now, it's also important to keep an eye on AI drug development. As I mentioned, there's a lot of partnerships going on, a lot of investment in this space, and it certainly has the potential to accelerate some of the opportunities out there.